Nelson Paredez Parks, thanks so much for coming on the Inner Edison Podcast. I appreciate you being here today.
You got it. Excited to be here. Love to, talk a little bit about kind of what we're up to here in Hollywood, and love to get to know your audience a little bit more.
All right. We first were talking off, before the mics were hot, and we're talking about what your company is. I asked if you were a talent agency, and you said no, there's a difference. And so you're explain that again so people
Yeah,
understand.
so I'm a talent manager. So I've been managing talent for the past 30 years. And a talent manager manages and develops talent from the ground up. I work a little bit the way back in the day, old school management used to happen. An agent does two things. They procure employment and they negotiate contracts. A manager develops, grooms, guides. I team you up with your accountant, with your bookkeeper, with your publicist, with your agents, with your acting coaches. So as a manager, I'm really a full service, person that's developing every area of your life and career as you're moving forward.
So you could find somebody and take them all the way through the process.
Yeah, so I've taken clients from the beginning of their careers all the way to the Emmys and the Oscars. So I've developed and built a lot of clients over the years, and in essence, I'm kind of like their personal life coach. So I've been managing talent now for over 30 years.
And from that, right? Because that's your company. That's who everything about you. And I don't want to get right into this, but first thing, because most people are going to say, well, that's totally different than most people, but it's really, you're managing a product, right? Mm-hmm. Really. And you're making sure that everything works well for that. And you're educating your people and everything through the process. People always want to know, what is the biggest issues you had or problem or failure you had in your 30 years of business?
Wow. I mean, I've had so many over the years, in the beginning, it was like trying to find clients. It was like a hard thing to like try to, find the right sort of talent. I mean, I started, just to give you a little background on myself, I started as a kid actor in Chicago. I studied at Second City in the training program as a teen. And then I toured with a youth company there. And then I moved out to California here to, work as an actor. And my first year out here, I did pretty well. And then moved on the other side and started working in casting. I worked at 4 different casting offices, casting commercials. I speak fluent Spanish. I'm originally from Mexico. So that was a very helpful thing to have another language that could help me, in the casting process. And then I started teaching kids and young adults as an acting coach. And I've taught thousands of kids and young adults as a coach. And then from there, all my kids and clients said, would I start managing them? And I was like, okay. So we opened the company and I started managing, and then that kind of continued to grow. And as far as hurdles, there's been years where it's just hard to have the money to keep going, and there's years that, obviously during the pandemic really threw us for a loop because I didn't have anything for my staff to do during that downtime. Like, it was so dead. So, I did not want to let go of any of my team because I have an amazing team. So I had to figure out, like, what do I do, So, I talked to numerous mentors that I have in life and got advice. And I actually came up with a very unique situation where, one of my coaches said, Nelson, you've been coaching for 30 years, all these clients, and you've been pretty much, I only make commission when they book a job, then I make money. So I could be working for someone for years until I see a penny. So one of my coaches said to me, Nelson, why don't you find a new way to reinvent your business? So I had hundreds of helpful forms and sheets that I've created for my actors. And I thought, what could I do with this? So we decided to pivot, and I took all these helpful forms and sheets that I'd helped all our actors to use on a daily basis. And I transferred it over to entrepreneurs and business owners. So now I developed through another brand called helpandanswers.com. It's a service now that helps entrepreneurs scale their life up. So my premise was, every business in America has a business plan, but I think people are more important than businesses. So I truly believe every person should have a true business plan for their life. So what I do is I do a 12-week deep dive into an entrepreneur's life and business and figure out what you're doing with all 168 hours of your week. So we look at all your time. We want to make sure you're allocating your time to the right resources. And then we look at your budget and make sure that like the budget is going in the right places. We look at your marketing. We look at how you're networking and what are your systems and structures to network. We look at your boundaries in your life, like what boundaries do you have for yourself and for your employees and for your business as a whole. And then we look at your spaces. I'll look at every area of your life, from your car to your house to your digital spaces. So it's like a program that helps us like really clean up every area of your business and or set up systems and structures so your business can truly go next level. So the average, I have two sorts of clients. I have the beginner client that doesn't even know what are those initial steps to set up a corporation. What do we need to do to have a successful business? And I help them build a business plan for that. And then for people that have had businesses that are just stressed out and struggling, I help them take a step back and figure out what do we need to do to really leverage and scale up their brand, their company, or their project that they're really working on.
And you've been doing this since the pandemic, or when did this start?
Well, I started doing that a little bit prior to that, simply because I had a couple clients that had reached out to me that wanted some support. And then during the pandemic, I really took that on a bit deeper, and I've had really crazy, unique situations that have come from it. Like a friend of mine said, I need help marketing this book. And I said, well, I don't necessarily, that's not what I focus on, but I'm a problem solver. I help people solve problems. So he has this book. It's called Conflicting Loyalties. And it's a fascinating book about a guy that was in the mafia when he was a kid. And then as he grew up and he was like 18, he had a decision to make, and he became a DOJ informant, and he had to bring all these political figures down. And so one of the problems that we had to do is like figure out, how do we take this book and kind of put it out to market? And now it's an Amazon bestseller, and Barnes & Noble bestseller as well. And so, I've just gotten good over the years of like, when a client brings a problem to me or a situation to me, like I'm a yes can do kind of guy. And I figure out creative ways to, get their product out to market.
Well, because you've been doing it for people this whole time.
Yeah, I've been doing it for actors and hundreds of actors over the years. So I thought, why don't I help businesses and entrepreneurs? And so now we have a different, brand called Help and Answers. It seems to, be working really nicely. And we have over 70 different template sheets that help you get your life fully in order. So there's sheets for your time, for your money, for your boundaries, and for every area of your business, so that you have wise systems and structures built.
Do you have a jerk one? Because I interviewed somebody that just we all have a jerk policy where we don't deal with jerks. The question is, some people have a problem firing clients, and you have to be able to fire a client.
Well, one of the things that we do in that instance is we talk about understanding the types of people you have in your life. So we figure out a plan to break down the categories in your life. And there's people that are your mentors, there's people that you're mentoring, and then there's people that are your peers. So we're going to find that fine balance of like, in your life, how many people can you mentor? How many people can mentor you? And how many people should be your peers? And so part of the process in that is like, for example, if all you were doing was spending time with your peers and just partying and having a good time, you're not going to get much done in your life. At the same time, if all you're doing is mentoring people and helping people and blessing people in their lives, you're going to be exhausted. And again, if all you're doing is taking from mentors and just like using them to get ahead, then you're going to become a selfish person. So we like to find that fine balance of like looking at your life, your schedule, and your time. How many individuals do you have the time to mentor you and have as peers? And we come up with a fine balance. And out of that, you're going to have the boundaries that we create with all the relationships you have. So that, yes, we get rid of those clients that are just nightmare headaches that you just don't want to have working, in your life with you.
Right. Because if you could get rid of those people, your life's so much better. But people don't know how to say, hey, let's not work together. We don't work well together. There's a few clients I've had over my life that they keep coming back to me, and I keep telling them I can't help them. But they still keep coming back. And so sometimes they wear you down.
That's a boundary issue. That's a boundary issue. So you have to look at like, are you good at saying yes? Are you good at saying no? And you have to be able to do both. There's certain things you want to say yes to, and there's certain things you need to say no to. And so it's like finding that balance. And I think, being an entrepreneur all my life, I've never really had a job in my life. I've always, I had some temporary things when I first started, in early, when I was 19 and 20, but other than that, I've always been an entrepreneur.
And you're in Hollywood, you said, right?
Yep, we're here in Century City in the heart of it all. And been, here in town for about 35 years here in Los Angeles.
So short period of time.
Yep.
All right. So with your new thing you've been doing for helping businesses, entrepreneurs, what's your perfect client?
My perfect client, well, it's either, it depends on if they're a starter business or if it's like a business that's been around that has a bunch of employees, but really it's someone that's coachable. I want someone that wants to learn, someone that wants to grow. I mean, I'll give you an example. Like here I have this cup. And so one of my concepts and thoughts that is super important to me is like, you have to make sure that you're always growing this cup. So, this cup actually says always half full. So for me, it's important that it stays at that always half full space so that there's always room to pour in more into your life. If I took a jug of water and I poured it to the top of this thing, the water is going to fall out. And that's what happens in most people's lives and most people's, entrepreneurs, that they're just overflowing, not being able to handle what they're up to in their life. And that's because they haven't learned how to grow their cup. So that growing only comes by having a coach, so I'm coaching, dozens of clients that I have, but I also have mentors that coach me. So you're only going to be as strong as is like the capacity that you can actually function at. So for me, I'm looking for entrepreneurs that are humble enough to say, look, there's things I need help with. There's things I need support in. There's things I don't know. Like even right now, look at what's going on with AI. I mean, there is so much on a day-to-day basis and so many programs that you could use right now to do something quicker, faster, better, or wiser. And so every single day I find out that I know less and less. So I need to have, wiser council members on my team that are business coaching me as well, so that I can help all the clients that I'm trying to continue moving up in their lives as well.
AI's been here forever. It's just going to get more. It's just going to help us do more with less, meaning that you're going to be able to do a lot more with less people.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm not using AI to replace people, but I do
I'm
think that AI is going to replace certain people that don't know how to integrate AI into their industry. So I think, one of the things that a couple months ago, we did this Zoom that we put together. We started another website called the AIexperts.com. And what that is a resource center of education on what AI is. And we are having a conversation regarding merging AI and entertainment into one conversation. So again, that was just us giving back to the entertainment community. I, as an entrepreneur, am always coming up with a new idea, a new system and structure, a new way to give back to my friends and colleagues. So I think it's important to stay ahead of the curve and keep learning and keep surrounding yourself with like people that are up to, really building, great stuff.
Yeah. So for me, because I've seen so many things, and yesterday I was talking to this AI, which just to see how great it was, and it was shockingly good. I mean, I couldn't tell that it was AI when I was talking to it. It didn't take that long to react to what I was saying, and it was so smooth, so everything. But I mean, it's got to be scary for actors and all those people out there that somebody could replace them. You can see AI models that look totally different and that eventually you won't be able to tell the difference. And so the question is, how is that going to do going forward? That's an industry that could be totally taken advantage of.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's always going to be performers. I mean, if you go back to live theater, people love to be entertained. People have loved to be entertainment has been part of life for all generations. So I think it's just about figuring out like, how do you fit into the new mold, so I think I'm a little bit more worried for writers, because, I'm actually testing out a couple of programs right now where it's like, I dump in my information. It's able to write me an entire how-to manual and how-to books and like put my face into the video where it looks like I'm talking and giving this testimonial about something. So there are some good elements from it, but then also, I will definitely always be hiring professionals that are really good and experts in their field, because I think it's important to have that sort of expertise, but use the AI models for what they're good at to help the creative process, but not to take over the creative process, but at least just assist you in maybe thinking of a new way to look at something.
I use like Cast Magic. You know about Cast Magic?
Yep.
Transcribing all my video stuff, which would normally cost me a lot of money to have someone to do that. Now it's done in seconds, and I can use it for it creates everything I'm doing, which is
Yep.
perfect. And then you have Opus, Pro now that cuts up video AI, which is puts in automatic
Yep.
B-roll, everything else. And it's like, wow, what a difference. And those things are I feel is just going to help people do more, right?
Yep.
It's going to be able to get that person who's a professional. You still have to go through and do editing and different things. You still have to know a certain words sound right, and AI will put certain phrases in there you don't want to use that automatically puts in, but it's getting smarter, and it's just going to help us do more and help people who are more. And that's why the lower level people who normally do that, I think, is where the problem is going to be. Like you said, writers and copywriters and
Yeah. But I think, the good copywriters, the great writers they're going to stick around, but I recommend that all of them at least understand the basics of AI so they know how to integrate it, and I think that's about each day asking yourself more powerful questions. I think that's one of the premises that we founded Help and Answers on is, my belief is that you will have the life that you have dependent on the questions that you ask yourself or the questions that you don't ask yourself in your life. So with our program, we go through and really start asking ourselves deep questions of like, how do you do something smarter? How do you do it wiser? And just asking the right questions on a day-to-day basis, you seem to get like better results when you take the time to step back and really ask those deep questions.
and what are some of those deep questions?
Well, I think it depends on each person as they're working on a project. Sometimes it's about asking. We'll go through like every category of questions. Like we'll go through asking financial questions, team questions, boundary questions, skill set questions. So it's about asking deeper and deeper questions as we keep going through the process to then get to those great answers. This week I was working with a guy that's a trainer. And in the process, when I was coaching him, we were stuck on trying to figure out like how he could have better conversations with leads as they're coming in. And when I worked with him, we identified a couple different things that like had the lights go off for him where he went, oh, wow, I think if we started asking this sort of question of a client, the results will be completely different. So I think it's about taking that time, to ask yourself. And I spend hours sometime in my day just journaling, figuring out, what am I not looking at? Who like questions could be like, what is the most important activity I need to do today with my time? What 3 people do I need to reach out to today that if I reached out to them would most impact my entire week? And just asking questions like that then and that is what will give you your correct to-do list, So I think one of the things that I always do is like, I have CEO hour with myself every week. The weeks that I have CEO time with myself, my week is a lot more effective and productive. So I have a whole systems and structure where I like ask myself all these deep questions in my CEO hour. And again, when I do that, my results and a lot of times the projects that I spend my time working on are a lot different than if I wouldn't have had that CEO hour time. So it's for me, it's critical that, if you really want to go next level, you got to have that power hour with yourself and your team.
Yeah, and you also have to, get a couple of days out of the office, where you're working not in your business, you're working on your business. And I think a lot of people, a lot of entrepreneurs don't focus on that. They focus on, there's a reason in the military there are certain people in the actual foxholes, and there's certain people back that's running the actual war in that room. Same thing
Yep.
here.
Yep. So I like to make sure that I'm working on 90% working on your business. And so the in your business is not something I spend too much time doing. Like, you want to hire out people that are better at those tasks than you are. So I think it's critical to start figuring out as a business owner, an entrepreneur, how do you start doing that? And, when you're first starting out, you don't have all the funds. So you may have to do certain things yourself, but it's thinking out of the box and saying like, well, how could I do this? Or could I trade? Like I have 3 or 4 different individuals that I trade my time. I business coach them and they help me with something else that I'm not very good at, that I need something accomplished in my business model. So I think there's creative ways as you're building a business to figure out how to do that as well.
Yeah, you get a few VAs, the right one.
VAs in different countries, right now I've been researching finding, one or two good people in the Philippines that'll help with certain tasks.
And
Yeah.
there's a couple companies that will train them for you so that you don't have to. And if they don't work out, they got, they'll get somebody in their place right
Yep.
afterwards. So there's a lot of people who are doing that for you, or you can do it yourself. The question is, it's not that expensive compared to what compared to us in California wages.
Yep. 100%. 100%.
Yeah. I mean, you guys are bad down there and we're getting there. So we're getting really bad up here. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's amazing how expensive California is getting with everything. So
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, the other day when I was driving through a drive-through, I'm like, how much does that burger cost me now? I'm like, wow, So it's kind of gotten out of hand.
yeah. Well, and there's less people working at that restaurant because they're using more technology, more this, more that. It didn't help anybody. It just made it go automated. So
Yep. Very true. Very true.
unfortunately. You were talking about how you were helping people to look at certain things and have these hours that you need to have to work on your business, and how you had that gentleman, look at certain things. And first thing I thought of is they're starting with AI now to talk to the lower level sales stuff, right? Before you get to somebody like us to actually who knows how to do sales and know how to have that conversation. There is AI now that will talk to them early on, so that saves that time for you to just deal with the people you really need to deal with. I was talking to somebody else as I have an answering service, which nobody knows it's an answering service. They're freaking amazing. And
Yep.
you'll never know. They call themselves front office. And so, oh, that's my front office. And that's what's going to happen with AI with the sales cycle is you're going to see that lower stuff talk to somebody and they don't know it was AI because it's going to be so good at it to where when they need to talk to somebody at a higher level, you'll be there for that.
Yep. But the thing that's crucial still in that space is you need to make sure that you're a critical thinker, because nowadays with the amount of things that we're seeing, online, we don't know what we can trust, so I think it's crucial to still be asking deep questions. And if you see something and your gut tells you something's off, there's a lot of scams that are happening also with AI. And so you need to be careful with that. And you need to say, maybe I need to ask 2 or 3 more questions about like doing business with this structure, this system, or this person, So I'm still very old school. I go out to events every single week. I network and I have a system for networking, to make sure that I'm like really developing the relationships and then making sure that I'm connected with all these people through all social channels. So I think as an entrepreneur, it's critical to make sure that you're building your systems and structures. Like my databases, I put over $100,000 just in my databases to manage my information, so I have systems and structures that manage all of that kind of stuff. So I think systems and structures is such a critical part of having a successful business. And you want to do that in your business, but you also want to do that in your personal life. So you have that fine balance in your life.
No, I agree. And I was just saying there's things that are coming to deal with that lower level stuff for
Yep.
certain businesses that need that level. For me, I talk to people constantly, even on because I'm in the mortgage industry. So I'm talking to somebody about certain things. But now, you have 2 choices. You can here's this and you get to it and then you waste an hour, or you go directly to the point where how much you make, what is this? Well, you're talking to them right away, which a lot of people don't like, but you're trying to get through the situations to find out who you can really help these days. Where
100%.
over the past 2 year, 2 years ago, you could help almost everybody, but in these days, it's only in my industry, 44% of the state in this state could actually own a home.
Wow. Yeah. And that's hard statistics. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So, yeah, I mean, your price point down there is ridiculous, but I mean, even at what used to be able to get a $700,000 loan for 3,200 a month, that is now a $400,000 loan.
Yeah, no, it's really insane, Yeah, my wife and I got a home out here in the valley, and crazy the prices we were paying. If we could get that home somewhere else, we would. But I love living in California, and I do dabble in real estate here or there. I have a Airbnb down in Mexico. I go to Mexico twice a year, and it's a fun little getaway. It's like a home that's been in our family for 125 years, and it's way up in the mountains. and it's like an hacienda where you just take a break from life. So it's called casazacafe.com. And so it's a nice getaway to just make sure that, we're having some good art in our time.
Where's that located?
It's in a place called Puebla. So you actually fly into Mexico City, and then I have a car service that picks you up. And then you go to the pyramids and have lunch in a cave, and then head up to the farm. And it's way up in the mountains. And in the morning, you get up and you go to the chicken coop and you get your eggs. So it's really a farm life experience. It's not like when most people say Mexico, they think Cabo, they think Puerto Vallarta, something like that. But this is like a hidden gem in the middle of nowhere called Casa Zacafe, and the city called Zacatlan. And it's a family home that's been around, from my dad to his mom and my grandma and her grandparents as well. So it's been in our family for many generations now.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, first thing when you said, Cabo, that's San Diego Cabo. I mean, that's what it's so quick because that's where we went when I down there. Was hey, let's go to Mexico. Okay, we're there. And then, for us up here, we go to PV,
Yep.
and I like the romantic zone, the older part. I prefer that part. And it's just, for me, just a nice place to go if you go the right time of the year.
Yeah, 100%. But I mean, Cabo, you can go any time of the year, I feel. Like the weather there is like
July is a little tough, dude. I don't care. Yeah, for me it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm in Modesto, California.
Okay.
So we get 110 probably 12 times a year.
Oh,
That's
wow.
not bad because we're inside, but in certain places in Cabo, you're
Yeah.
trying to go somewhere and you got 112. You know what I mean? I've been there during those period of time. Yeah, it's fine as long as you can get back to your place that you're staying
Have
at.
the air conditioner unit. Yep.
But not all the places used to have that. So what are you going to do?
Yeah.
All right. So if somebody wants to get in touch with you, what's the fastest and easiest way to get a hold of you, Nelson?
So, I mean, the first step is if you want to learn a little bit more about me, go to, my Instagram at Nelson Paredez Parks. And if you want to set up a meeting with me regarding helpandanswers.com, just go to the website, log in and, give me your info and we'll contact you. We'll set up a intro 30-minute, 45-minute complimentary conversation where we can find out a little bit about like what you're up to. What you're needing, what sort of, I like to first find out, have you ever had coaching in your life before? Some people have never had coaching. I would meet other clients that like they've had 8, 9, 10 coaches and they just want a different perspective. So yeah, reach out to me. I'd love to have a conversation to see how we can impact and help your bottom line and help you in whatever industry you're in get to that next level. But it starts with like doing a deep dive, clean assessment of like where you're at. So we can look at what's and then we create a master game plan for like how to go next level.
You see, I believe in masterminds. I believe in having a coach. I believe core man, whatever you want to call them, but also you will outgrow certain coaches along the way and mentors along the way. And that's okay. That's how it should be. We should give you everything that you need. So you outgrow who we are and you need to get somebody at the next level. There are certain coaches who can get you all the way up to the second person in the company. And there's coaches who can take you to the first level in the company, depending on what you're looking for. And so it's, again, not everybody fits everybody, but finding the right coach is very important.
Yep. Well, I've had coaching all my life. I've done tons of programs, everything from the Tony Robbins thing to the, T. Harv Eker, Millionaire Mindset, Walk on Fire. I mean, I've done every one of those sort of things. I've loved it. As it's given me a different way to think. And I think that's why I've become a great problem solver, because I've had so many coaches coach me in so many different things that, and that's now what I've done the last 30 years of my life with all these actors that I've represented.
Right. It seems like you would do that on a regular basis with actors.
Yeah. I mean, really, with my talent of roster as actors, like, at some point I kind of become, not that I'm a full-time therapist, but I've heard it all. I've seen clients go through every chapter of their life, through the learning how to navigate moving through the Hollywood system, to the fame of it all, to seeing their faces in the tabloids. And so I mentor them on from the emotional standpoint to the financial standpoint. So to every part of it. So I think doing that, and I've traveled all over the world with my clients. I've been to India and Africa, and Europe and everywhere. So it's been a fun lifestyle. So I never really feel like I'm working, even though yes, I am working. It's more like a lifestyle I've created. So I think the management thing really gave me and opened up my eyes, because I work with so many individuals. As a talent manager, I work with the accountant and the attorney and the publicist and the acting coach and the stylist. So I think it's given me a great view of like how to work with people at a very high level, but as well as in different cultures. So I think that's what's helped me become a good coach, because I can see it from a lot of different perspectives.
All right, Nelson, thank you so much for coming on the show today. Really appreciate having you here today.
Thank you so much. Anytime, and thank you so much. Appreciate it.
All right, everybody, make it a great day.